The Succession War arc is in full flow. It's been building up, and even here in this volume, in this last batch of 10 chapters, we've been building up again. Togashi came back and showed everyone that he still got it. Obviously, those 10 chapters were technically written 6 years ago, so everything up until chapter 430 was written 6 years ago. It's not like Togashi just came up with this in this year. It's been waiting to be drawn for quite a while. Today we'll be reviewing and discussing volume 39 from chapter 401 to 410. I'll show my ranking of characters, which I update every 5 chapters, so this is the time where we have it. Then I'll talk about the rating that I'm gonna give to every single chapter, so I'll give a rating to each chapters, and then we'll just discuss those 10 chapters, throw some guesses, some predictions, some little details that maybe some of you didn't get, or just spark some conversation in the comments as well. While we wait in this hiatus, Togashi is still working on Twitter slowly but surely. Just had the surgery, he's recovering, he's still working on storyboards, so hopefully the man, takes it easy, and then next year 2025 he'll come back stronger than ever, and we'll continue with this crazy arc. If you guys have an idea on what video I could do in the next few months during the hiatus, if there's something that you guys want to hear from me, certain characters, certain things that could happen, let me know in the comments. So we'll start with the character ranking. Again, we update this. I have this up until chapter 430 for now, and once we get there we'll add more. But as you guys can see, we can see the evolution of the characters, if some of them went down, went up, and once we do finish this arc, it'll be cool to see how certain characters went down and just the roller coaster. As usual, this is available for all of you in the description. The link is right at the top. You guys can access this and go look at it, take a look at it for yourself. And if you guys are interested, you can always go at the bottom here, click on this and make your own. It's a little bit complicated, so you guys might have to figure that out. It does take some time. But so in terms of the changes, Morena, one of the MVPs of this, or the MVP, we'll talk more about it, of this batch, she went from rank 13 to top 10. She has entered the top 10. So she went above Nobunaga and Finks, and then I had to switch Bisky with Morena, so Bisky had to go down, but Bisky could change place with Finks and stuff. That doesn't really, they're pretty much the same. We have Benjamin, who went from 16 to 14. I really enjoyed, even though he didn't have that much screen time. I think all the screen time that he has was really well spent. I think Togashi, with just a small amount of screen time, was able to do a lot for Benjamin, and I'm super excited to see what he's gonna cook in this next batch, because I feel like he's gonna have definitely some focus, so that makes me even more excited for his character. Borgsen, massive, she went from top 56 to rank 42, so she went up a lot, 14 places, right above Rian. I really enjoyed Borgsen as a character. She was really great dynamic with Morena, and I'm interested to see where she goes. I can't really figure out. I'm sure she'll probably awaken Nen at some point. She's gonna have to kill someone, so that'll be interesting. Beans went down, unfortunately. Beans had to go down. I mean, he probably shouldn't even be here because he's not really in the arc, so I don't know why I put him in here, but I guess I gotta live with it. Steiner went up. He always goes up a little bit. He just grows on me every rewatch. Steiner is low-key cooking. He's obviously important for the Dark Continent stuff, and now his involvement with Kaiser. We might see a little bit of Steiner in the next batch as well, so yeah, definitely a character that I enjoy. Botobai went up as well. I just didn't know how I felt about Botobai, but he was definitely too low for me. Compared to other characters like Shimano and Otochin, like it made sense for Botobai to be above them. Him stepping up to Benjamin is pretty cool. I'm excited to see if he does anything in this next batch. He's the Dragon Zodiac after all, so. Lynch went up. I mean, Lynch is dead, so in terms of character, I don't think we'll see much of Lynch anymore, so that definitely tempers the character in terms she's not a character anymore. She doesn't have any potential that I thought she might have, right? She could have been a pretty important character, but she basically got off screen, so yeah. Dogman, it's Dogman. He could be higher, to be honest, but we'll see. I need to see him do something, right? I actually need to see him do something. But I really enjoyed Dogman. And that's it for the ranking. There's not much focus on a lot of characters in those last 5 chapters. We were mostly focused on Borgsen and Morena. So in terms of the ranking, not a lot of movement. But I'm sure next batch we'll see a lot of characters. So there might be more movement there. As I said, it's in the description, go look at it if you want. Here in this section we'll be talking about the rating for each chapter. I'll be ranking the chapters from top 1 to top 10, and I'll give a rating out of 10. I will put decimals, so for example it could be 6.5, 6.7. I've always done that. I just have more fun that way, so I can give more distinct rating, distinct certain chapters, but there might be chapters that are at the same place. So at the 10th place we have chapter 407. Not too big of a shocker, it's mostly just an explanation of Morena's board game or card game. At the very start we do get a little bit of Terry's friends and talking about Borgsen. So we'll see. I'm very interested in what Togashi has planned with those characters. Terry's friends, I'm just really enjoying them. They give me a little bit of Attack on Titan vibe, especially, you know, the main characters, the Survey Corps, and just that little crew of almost army-like, right? Hopefully they don't go try to save Borgsen and some of them get killed by Morena in front of her face, or like Borgsen has to kill one of them. Yeah, I could see something like this, right, where they decide to go try to save Borgsen, and Borgsen ends up, the person that Borgsen ends up seeing to join is one of her friends. That would be rough. The rating for that one is a 7.7 out of 10, 7.5 if you want to, but it's definitely a weaker chapter for me. Again, it's good, it's important for the next 2 chapters afterwards, but it's not one of those chapters that I'm gonna reread necessarily. At the 9th place we have chapter 409. This is again the card game. At the very start we do get a little bit of the martial law, which is cool. But in this chapter we really focus on Borgsen and we see how smart she is, and it looks like she's just kind of going crazy. She's cooking, and obviously we see in the next chapter that she gets manipulated, so she wasn't as cooking as much. For this one I'm giving it a 8.2 out of 10. Solid chapter, really enjoyed it. This is one of those chapters that I could reread, unlike chapter 407. Cool dynamic between Morena and Borgsen, and that's it. At the 8th place we have chapter 402. The rating for this one is a 8.5. Chapter 402 to me was really good, especially on the first reread. There was a lot of text, but it was surprisingly not that heavy. The concept of the letters was a really cool concept that I enjoyed. Just seeing all the princes getting their letters, especially Lazarus and Benjamin. Again, it gave us a good scene for me with Benjamin. For his character, same thing with Lazarus. Terry being in their training as well was great. The little reveals at the end as well, which is really important for the rest of this volume, right? First with Alkingberg's birth, and then the other thing with Benjamin's secret, which now we know was him having a child, which was my guess for it. So I'm glad I was right on that one. And obviously Kurapika getting the letter. Just overall really enjoyable chapter. At the 7th place we have chapter 403. I have a 8.7 on this one. Actually one of the chapters where there is action in it a little bit, which in this volume there's not a lot of action really, which is not a bad thing by the way, but you do see Alkenberg enacting his plan. The art is really great, the cinematic approach to it, right? Slow, very slow, with no dialogue with Balsamilko. The reveal at the end with Alkenberg being in Balsamilko, and that in chapter 402 we do get kind of into it, right, that Alkenberg fainted, so it was cool to see it, actually seeing what happened in the next chapter. It was a good follow-up. My only thing with this chapter, and it's a personal thing on this one, I was expecting a little bit more from Balsamilko. I was pretty excited for his character. He was one of the smartest characters in this. He seemed like a pretty strong end user for himself, just based on his knowledge of it, right? So I'm just getting no diff and basically doing nothing, basically, was like something to me that stuck with me with this chapter that kind of disappointed me. But there is a chance that this is not the last of Balsam Elko. He might still have something to do in this next batch, right, with Hawkingberg. He's not technically dead yet, so we'll see. Maybe I'll change my opinion on that, right, if I do see Balsam Elko do something and not actually, you know, die in this next batch. So maybe we'll revisit this chapter. At the 6th place we have chapter 404, and this one is a 8.8, so slightly better than 403. I slightly enjoyed 404, but it's really close. I like that chapter, how it really felt like the calm before the storm. I love that little sequence where we touch up to with all the princes. The Tseri sequences is amazing with Salkov and him, and seeing that obsession from Tseri, what makes him really special in his mindset, not just with his talent, but he works hard when he's obsessed with something. And obviously the Netero parallel, that panel is great, one of the best. And Hawkingberg's body dying, again, how it was drawn, it really felt like I was watching a movie almost, right? The cinematic approach again. Kaiser is cooking in those chapters, which I didn't really talk with chapter 402 and 404, but he's cooking. Then the end with the Phantom Troop, what can you ask? It was just a really good chapter. Now we enter the top 5. At the 5th place we have chapter 410, and again we continue. We had 8.7, 8.8, now we have 8.9, but 410 was really enjoyable. Again, the fact that there was 3-page spread, that's pretty rare, so that was just really fun to see. The focus on Benjamin in the second half was great. Benjamin is my 3rd favorite prince, so every time I do get a focus on him, love it. The reveal that he is poisoned and he has 10 hours to go is pretty insane. The 4 princes left, which at this point I think is in terms of the hostages that he has, right? So there's 4 left, Luzurus, Zonglei, and then my 2 other guesses are Mariam and Fugetsu. Probably those are the 4. Obviously Togashi could do something with one of them being someone that we don't expect, right? Like Tseri or something. And then the first half with Morena was great. The end of basically the match with the cards, one of my favorite panels again there, and it really solidifies that yes, we see that side of Morana being cute and us having sympathy for her, but then we do see that monstrous side to her, right? Like she's a monster and she will destroy things. At the 4th place we have chapter 408. This one is a 9. The Morana backstory, I was waiting for that one. I didn't even know if I was gonna get one, but it was there. Amazing. And it's not just for Morana as a character, but it even gives us more info on Kakin's dark side, just Kakin in general. So every time we build on Kakin, it's a big part of this whole arc, so getting more backstory on that and adding that darkness is great for Morana and for Kakin, Nasubi, and just some really good character work in general with this one, Borksen. Knowing more who she is and just having that contrast between her wanting to just have a chill, calm life and just float through it, no big ambitions, and then Morana having the biggest ambition you can have, right? And just the game itself, like seeing the card game in action, was really fun. 3rd place, top 3, we have chapter 406 at a 9 as well, just like 408. I have it slightly above because it's Crollo. Yeah, what do you want more from me? Focus on Crollo, seeing more of his objectives, seeing the 3 treasures and how that's massive, right? The implications of that. Seeing more of Crollo's character, the Phantom Troop, the double spreads, you know, the art was amazing, that Crollo panel, amazing. Seeing more of the architecture of the Black Well, right? Seeing a new Nen ability from Crollo. Enrig just figuring everything out was, I mean, he's a beast. I love that for his character, and both of them resolving to have that revenge. As they talk about having revenge, we have Crollo under them. That was just really well done, so amazing chapter. At the 2nd place we have chapter 401 at a 9.3. 401 was amazing, what can I say? Like even after all this time, chapter 401 still it's as hard. The experience was amazing, you know, coming back from a 2-year hiatus on that chapter. Nobody was expecting such a big chapter, crazy chapter like that. So having that, changing the whole arc basically with Beyond, having Beyond actually being part of this arc for real, which I didn't think it was gonna be, and I'm super glad because Beyond is one of my most anticipated characters. He's amazing. The art again was great, seeing more of Longy and the backstory, learning more about Kakin a little bit through that, and having a little teaser from my boy Bobby Mina. Just amazing chapter. I think you guys get the point. And at the first place, yes, it is chapter 405. This is my favorite chapter of the batch, of the volume, coming at a 9.5, which is pretty good. 9.5 is pretty high. Again, this chapter had everything I love about Hunter x Hunter. Some of my favorite characters, the ones that I'm most excited about in this arc, all in the same chapter. I mean, you got Hisoka, Chrollo, and Morena in the same chapter. Like, those are the main three focus almost, right? The stuff with Hisoka being in tier 1 already, the twist with Bonolenov being the Hisoka we saw before, just seeing more of Hisoka's thoughts, which is super rare, was just cinema for Hisoka's character. Seeing Chrollo after so long, seeing that he did kill Riznort 10 years ago was pretty insane. I really didn't expect that. And then the Kenny Wang, which is another character that I've had low-key stocks in, but I didn't have much to back it up. I just felt like he was gonna be an important character, and I was just excited to see more of him. And now having that twist that he is with Morena, that he has some sort of relationship with her, which I'm very interested in seeing. His facial expressions were really interesting in that chapter as well. Morena having a Joker, the 3 boys of the ALE training being level 51 and going after Enrig. It was just an amazing chapter. It was just perfect. I don't have much more to say. The only time I'm gonna give like score like 10 out of 10s or chapters like Komugi and Meruem's death, the chapter with Gon versus Beetle, Netero versus Meruem, and the end of that fight. Like, those are the chapters. Those are the chapters that I would give 10 out of 10. So I don't think we got chapters quite to that level in this batch, but like 9.5 is pretty damn good. And the good thing about this volume is that how consistent it was, right? I mean, it's all 8 and above. And this ranking is based on Hunter x Hunter in terms of the rankings, right? So having all 8s basically, other than one chapter being all 8s and most of them being almost like 9 out of 10s is just a solid volume. Now, if you watch my reaction a few times, I was like, it might end up being my favorite, and I think with time now I do not think it's my favorite volume of this arc. I do think I still have the volume with Hisoka versus Chrollo and us just starting the journey of the Black Whale and all of that. Then the volume right after the anime with Beyond's introduction, the Jing and Pariston stuff, the introduction of Tsernik and Benjamin, the reintroduction of Kurapika, like all of that. And then volume 37, which is Fugetsu and Kachel's death, right? That volume with Tseri and his ability. Like, this is still my top 3 volume of this arc, but this does enter my top 4. So I have this volume top 4 right behind those 3, so it's still pretty high because it was mostly the calm before the storm, right? It was set up, which is crazy to say because there was still actions, especially with Alkenberg and Benjamin, but it was still built up and set up for a lot of things in this volume and for what's to come. I had some expectations even at the start that like the second half of this volume was gonna be action and maybe a resolution of some things, which wasn't really the case. We kind of went just on an all other thing with the card game, so which I don't mind at all that I was wrong with my expectations. We're playing the long game, I'm fine with it. I've been through the Camarant arc, I've seen how it goes, and I'm here for it. Okay, that was a lot of yap for the rankings. Hopefully that wasn't too long for you guys because we still have quite a bit to go. You guys can let me know if you want to rank, just give a rating, quick rating of the chapters, or just leave your favorite chapters, maybe top 3 chapters of the batch, and what you thought about this batch in the comments. Now let's talk about, just discuss everything we've had in this, the predictions, the theories that I have, questions that I have about what certain scenes mean, and talk about certain characters and such. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about the MVPs of this batch. I think, as I've said, I think the MVP of this batch for me is Morena. I think she's the MVP of the batch for me. She stole the show in the second half. I understand why Togashi had her as a colored illustration at the start. She's been one of my favorite characters introduced. I think she probably will end up being the best female character in Hunter x Hunter, in my opinion, but we'll see. She was great, the backstory, I've talked about it. Other MVPs, Kaiser. Unexpectedly, I didn't really care about him. Even in chapter 400, I was like, okay, he's fine. But this chapter he was cooking, I really enjoyed him. Next we have Benjamin, another, as I said, highlight. Really like seeing more of his character. In my opinion, I know you can read it how you want. For me, I read it as definitely a little bit more of a soft side to him, more of a brotherly, right, the family aspect of him, maybe not as ruthless, like he just had a different vibe than what we saw of him in the early stage of the arc. Hulkenberg, my second favorite. Prince, cooking as usual, is crazy play with Balsamilko, which he didn't really have much of a choice, but the fact that he's able to just form this plan on the go almost. We'll see how it goes. I don't think he's dead, but we'll see in the next batch. Beyond, again, with one chapter, he's just changed my brain chemistry. I don't, it's just, he's always in the back of your mind now, thinking when you think about this arc. Now, who does Beyond want to talk to? So I'll throw my 4 guesses. It's a little bit vague, obviously, but first, a queen. I think it could be one of the queens, right? Maybe the queen that he did have a child with, right? That could be a possibility. Let's say it's Dwazul, then we would know that it's one of Dwazul's kids. Next, one of his child. Either one of the curses that knows about him, that he has some sort of relationship with. Or his actual child that is a prince, right? That could be a possibility. Now the other one that I see very likely as well could be Nasubi. Now how likely is it for Nasubi to go to wherever Beyond is? I know he probably wants to say where he's secure in security, so I don't know if he would move like that, but Nasubi is a good choice. I think that would be, I really would love that conversation between the two, especially with what we got again with Beyond's plans and whatever his plan is, and all the dark stuff that we get a little bit more about Nasubi through Morena and all that stuff. I would love a conversation between those two sick fuck. And then a Zodiac, I guess. Maybe he wants to talk to like Mizai Storm or Butterby or something like this. And then I'll throw one random. I don't know why, but if I guess this, you were here. Kaiser. I don't know why you would want to talk to Kaiser, but I could see Kaiser. Kaiser has been super important, super focused in this volume, and at the end of the last volume. He's been surprisingly super important. I don't know what Togashi is cooking with him, but it's interesting that he's had so much focus like this after this Beyond stuff. And he keeps at the end of chapter 410 he's talking about having one stronghold left if he can survive one day or something. So I wonder if it's anything related to Beyond. I don't know. I don't have much to speculate more about that or much basis to add on that, but I'll throw that guess out there. Let's talk about a few predictions or a few theories. First, what the hell's going on with Illumi, right? We haven't seen Illumi like for so long. We don't know what the hell's going on. Like he says that obviously Hisoka hired him to kill him, and then he joined the Phantom Troop. Like, that's a interesting play for Chrollo, right? So now in this volume that we got with Chrollo, with the 3 treasures and him searching for that and needing an ability, I'm gonna throw this guess out there, and I don't. With this guess, it's still Illumi wanting to kill Hisoka still could apply, or whatever Illumi wants to do if he has a plan with Hisoka to betray Chrollo or the spider, whatever. But I think Chrollo might have hired Illumi or asked him to join the spider or something like that, to basically help him with those treasures, or the ability, probably the treasures, to get to that, right? I could definitely see where that's what Illumi's role could be here, is with those treasures and helping Chrollo steal them. And with Kaluto as well, with his power, that could help Chrollo a lot. So that's my guess right now, that Illumi has something to do with those 3 treasures and is one of the reasons why Chrollo had Illumi join. I could see something where he made a contract with Illumi, because I just don't see Chrollo making such a big mistake to just let Illumi join and then Illumi just betraying them because he's working with Hisoka. That would be kind of dumb from Chrollo a little bit. So it just doesn't seem in line with his character. So I think Chrollo probably has some contingency plans in case Illumi tries to do something funny in relation to Hisoka, and maybe that's why Illumi was on tier 3 last time we saw him. Maybe he was searching for the treasures, because there's another thing based on translations. There's translations that Chrollo says we've searched the top tier 5 to tier 3 for the treasures. In some translation he says we've searched for it, and then in other it's more like I've searched or I've looked. So if we go with the translation we've searched, who is he talking about? Is he talking about the other Phantom Troop members? But he did say to the other Phantom Troop members in chapter 377 to focus on Hisoka and not the treasures. So that's where I would be confused on why he would say we've searched for the treasures, really. So he could be referring to Illumi and Kaluto, I don't know, you know, that's just my guess. And because we know that Chrollo is hiding some of the stuff from the other members, about the treasures and him searching for an ability, right? He's not telling that to the others because he wants to kill Hisoka himself, and he's taking all those risks. He's ready to die for this. So I could see being a thing where he told this to Illumi prior and then didn't tell this to the rest of the Phantom Troop, and Illumi maybe saying that he was here because Hisoka hired him to kill him was just something that Chrollo told Illumi, hey, just tell this to the others that you're here for this, right? Maybe they have something in the back, I don't know. So that's my theory with this. I could be totally wrong. Maybe if you guys have something that just destroys this theory, then let me know. Next, I think in terms of the Beyond Child, my guess is Tseri and Nick at this point. There's just too much pointing at him being it. I don't really care if it's obvious, to be honest. Like, I would still really like it. It just depends how it's done, because I can see ways where it could make it not as good, it being Nick. But then if it's written well, which it's Togashi, I think it could be really good, at least to me. If it's not him, I think Mariam could make a lot of sense. Camilla for me for some reasons. And then Wobble, I guess, is kind of a weird one where I don't necessarily want it to be Wobble, because then that would mean that Oito either knows and is hiding it from Kurapika and from the others, which I don't know. From what we've seen from her, it just doesn't really make sense with her character to just be hiding stuff like this to me. Or she was, manipulated by Nen, or memories were manipulated, which she thinks it was Nasubi, but right, this is one of the ways I could see it being. In terms of the other kids, the cursed ones, we know that Salkov is probably one because he knew Zetsu since he was young. Maka'a, which is Longy's sister, I think, which is she on the boat? I don't know if we're gonna see Maka at some point, if she's here or not. Obviously Longy is there, so that's 3. So we know about probably 3. My guess is that Babi Mina is another one, It would check out with how mysterious he's been, how kind of he feels different from the other guards from Benjamin. Even his character design, his face, I definitely could see him being Beyond's son or Netero's grandchild. Theta as well, I think it could make sense. Her character design again, she definitely looks like she could be. She knew Nan right before here, and she looks like she's pretty good with it, which would be interesting because that makes Teta and Salkov kind of at least step sisters or brothers, right? Half sisters, brother. So that would be an interesting dynamic for those two. And then the other ones, again, to me, one of Terry's friends might be one of them. I just have this feeling. And Otochin, to me, it would be my guess, just based on design-wise and everything. Obviously, it's kind of weird because that means that he would know Nen, but he's talking like he doesn't know it, and he doesn't seem like the smartest guy, so he doesn't seem like the type to be that smart to hide stuff like this, so I'm kind of not sure on that one. But one of Terry's friend being a Beyond curse style wouldn't surprise me. And then another one which doesn't make fully much sense, but again, I'm basing myself on designs and I've always thought about this even before this, is Bill. Bill looks like Beyond or Netero so much, especially manga wise. He has the same eyes, the same similar nose, and like if you make Bill older, where like his eyebrows gets a little bit more bushier, like he would look a lot like a Netero to me, Bill. So I'll throw a guess out there that maybe Bill ends up being one of Beyond's sons. The only thing that's kind of weird with that is most of what we've heard is like it's supposed to be someone from the army or from Kakin, right? So Bill being one of them and being a hunter does make it kind of not make sense, but at this point anyone could be Beyond's child. I don't know how many kids he has, so I'll throw out there that Bill might end up being one of Beyond's kid, and he might not even be cursed, but yeah. Another thing that with Seri that's been bothering me a little bit is him being Unma's kid. It's just like when you look at Alkenberg and Benjamin, like they don't look anything like Seri to me. Seri could look like a young Nasubi, right? That could make sense a little bit. I don't know how Nasubi looked when he wasn't fat like this, when he was younger, so. But his look, to me, Dwazel always made sense, right? Especially with the reveal that Alkenberg does is Unma's child, and they look so similar. That was kind of the hint. To me, Dwazel and him makes so much sense. Like, he looks like Camilla, but a male, right? Like, they're both pretty, they're good looking people. Unma has that big ass nose, like he doesn't look much like Unma to me, but it's not impossible that he got his Nasubi's genes. I don't know, man. I'm gonna say that Seri could be Dwazel's son and there was a baby switch or Alkenberg, or even though they're probably not the same age, which it gets complicated a little bit there, but I'll throw a guess out there that Seri could be Dwazel's son. Or he's just not a royal. No, that wouldn't make sense. So I'll say that Seri is Dwazel's son, and then Beyond as well. So he's Beyond and Dwazel's son. That's my guess, probably wrong. That's about it for the theories. The card game was pretty cool from Togashi. As I said, it's very in line. He loves games, Morena loves games. This all checks out why that would be the case, and I hope we do see the card game again with another character that maybe we know a little bit more than Borgsen. Obviously Borgsen was just introduced, but with a character that we've known would be real cool. I would say it could have been a little bit shorter if I had to critique a little bit. I do think it could have been a little bit shorter than what it was, right? It was 3 chapters and a half, basically, almost 4 chapters. I think it could have been at least condensed to 3 chapters. So maybe we could have had chapter 4 or 10 being just focus on something else instead of half the chapter. I think it would have been maybe a little bit better paced if it was 3 chapters. So that would be my only little critique there, nothing too bad. But the carnivals, disgusting, but yeah, it makes you think. I think Benjamin could have been involved. I'm not sure Camilla could have been involved. who knows with Zhongli. Terry probably was involved in those carnivals. Tyson maybe, Lazarus maybe, I don't know. Alkenberg, I don't think he was in there. I really don't think he was there. Saleh was definitely there. I don't think that's a question for me. But something interesting with that made me think back again to Nasubi. This guy is horrendous. That adds even more because you know he was there probably every single time those carnivals happen, at least in the last 30 years. So he's a disgusting motherfucker if we didn't already know, but his Nen Beast now makes even more sense. Yeah, with all the boobs and everything, yeah, it's just disgusting. So yeah, his Nen Beast makes even more sense. Zhongli and Lazarus are on tier 2 now with their mafia, or I guess Zhongli is, Lazarus we don't really know. So with Lazarus, right, it's kind of tough to know if Borgsen, it all depends on how long Borgsen was asleep before she woke up and played the game. To me, it still makes more sense that we're still on day 12 and we're still during the day because we saw the light outside, so we're not at night. So to me, the Lazarus plan shouldn't have been done yet. Unless they decided to do it earlier, which I don't think, I'm not sure, and I'm not even sure if Melody and Kacho are really planning to do that, or they're trying to test Kaiser. But to me, first of all, Alkenberg, we know he had only 10 hours to do what he wanted to do in Balsamilko's body, and I just don't see how Benjamin would have got infected by the TSK-17 unless he was in Balsamilko's body. So it had to be in those 10 hours to me that he got infected. First of all, that tells me that we're probably still on day 12. And then to me, it just wouldn't make sense for Morena to keep Borgsen asleep for a whole day, or being asleep for all day, because we know that Morena doesn't have much time. She wants to be quick and do things, right? So it just doesn't make much sense for her to kidnap Borgsen and then have to wait a whole 24 hours. It just doesn't make much sense. So I think we're still on day 12. I don't think the Lazarus plan was done unless they decided to do it earlier. So it makes you think, did Lazarus maybe die from someone else? Or did he actually escape as well, just like Zhongli, which I think is very possible. With them escaping, it makes them super vulnerable to die, right? They're on tier 2, Morena is on between tier 2 and tier 3. I think it opens the door for one of them being killed by a alien member. Maybe Borgsen will be there, maybe it will be Borgsen, right? Maybe she will kill one of the prince and she'll go to level 50. That could make sense as well, right? Because I doubt she'll start killing 21 people, so that could be a thing. Lazarus and Zhongli getting killed there. Lazarus seems like the more likely. To me, he seems like the more likely to get killed by the Ellie over Zhongli, mostly because of Zhongli's coin and his Nen Beast being a focus, and Lazarus having some dead flags. So Benjamin, he has basically 10 hours. It's cool that we're gonna have a kind of the box with the timestamp similar to the Palace invasion, right? So it'll be cool. We know that once we get close to 10 hours since martial law was declared, if we do get that, with that timestamp, we basically now know how much time Benjamin has before he falls into a coma and he's basically done. So not only does it gives us a timestamp for the martial law and for certain events, it gives us a timestamp of when Benjamin will die. So we'll know that when we are at like 9 hours and 30 minutes, we know Benjamin is gonna have like a few minutes before he dies, right? So that's gonna elevate the tension if this is where Togashi's going. Now, will he actually die in those next 10 hours? There is a chance that his Nen Beast could save him. The Zodiacs, obviously, Chidol, Botobai, maybe Botobai will figure out that he's been infected and maybe he'll ask one of the Zodiacs to help him, right? Because remember, Chidol did send stuff to Gel, the other Zodiac, the one that's good with poison and such. So she has that, so maybe with that they'll be able to save Benjamin, right? So I'm not gonna say that he's 100% dying in the next 10 hours. Though I could see him getting ill and then him getting killed by something else, not even the poison, like someone else could just like kill him right after. But it'll be great for his character. 10 hours, he's gonna have to do stuff, right? He thinks he's gonna die, so he's gonna have to go super fast. I don't think, by the way, this is Alkenberg in his body at this point. There's maybe 10% chance that Togashi turns that on us and it's Alkenberg and whatever, but I do think it's Benjamin. I've seen people talk about Tsubepa, and yes, Iron Beast that could be what it does, right? That could be a thing that could save him. We know Tsubepa doesn't like Benjamin, so I don't think she would want to save him. So the only way I could see Tsubepa maybe having a part to play in helping him would be if Kurapika needs Benjamin to survive for a reason. He needs Benjamin to not die here for some reason, and then Tsubepa would listen to Kurapika. That would be the only way that I see Tsubepa's Menbeast having something to do here. Or Tsubepa wants, maybe we'll try to do a contract with him, something with Longy's ability. So Kenny Wang with Morana, that's very interesting. To me, the way he talks, the way Togashi drew him, it feels like there's a deeper connection between him and Morana, and maybe Kenny does want Kakin to be destroyed, right? Maybe for some reason he wants it to see Kakin burn. Maybe the world as well, maybe he agrees with her. Maybe he sympathizes with her backstory and what she went through, right? With Nobunaga going back now, he's gonna have to go back through the door. I'm a little bit scared for him that he's gonna be alone and Kenny might try to do something, ambush him, or I don't know. With this Nobunaga thing, we did get to see 3 early members, Corole, Daimon and Tevelaris. They're probably all level 50, I would guess. I like their outfit change as well, pretty cool designs. We have Enrig and Zakuro that are there, and Nobunaga, so I feel like those 3 factions might collide together, right? We might see a fight there. I could very well see it. I could see Nobunaga having to fight those 3 early members by himself. Maybe this is where we'll see his Nen ability. I'm just a little bit scared for Nobunaga because I do think he can handle those 3 early members by himself. I think he can handle Enrig and Zakuro by himself, but you know, if he starts fighting those 3 early members, Enrig starts to try to backstab him, even though I do think Enrig would probably want to talk with Nobunaga before he tries to backstab him, because as they said, they do think it's speculations. So I could see him trying to talk with Nobunaga, and maybe down the line he'll try to backstab him, I don't know. But yeah, I could see something happening with those 3 factions, and then maybe Kenny Wang steps in, like it starts to get a lot of people against Nobunaga, so I could see Enrig having a moment where he technically kind of saves Nobu against those 3 earlies, right? I could see a moment like that. As I've said, Kakin is horrible and needs to be destroyed. Come on, Morana, I'm with you, destroy Kakin. Obviously joking, there is a lot of people in there that do not deserve this, but Nasubi and all of this, they can go, bro. They need to go. Now let's talk a little bit about characters. Chrollo, it was really cool to see a little bit more focus on him and him being proud of the spider, really seeing his pride and how proud he is of the spider itself, what he's built, right? The Phantom Troop, his family, right? He's proud of it, and he really thinks it will go on, right? It's just really cool to see, because a lot of us feels that way through to a few things, right? There's maybe a project, something we've been working on for a long time, that we're just really proud of what we've accomplished and what we've done, right? So it was cool to see that side of him, and seeing the disconnect between him, Bonolenov and him, and I wonder, does other Phantom Troop members feel the same as Bonolenov, where they want this performance to end, right? That'll be interesting to see from maybe other Phantom Troop members. And just seeing more of Chrollo's disconnect to himself. He's so disconnected to himself, him just always being ready to die. He doesn't care about dying, doesn't care about his life, right? The head doesn't matter, you know, the legs can go on. But most of the Phantom Troop don't feel that way, right? They care about him, they don't want him to die, they do care, the head does matter. And that disconnect that he has is really that disconnect to his humanity, or so he thinks. He does have a lot of humanity, but he doesn't know or realize that he has it, right? Again, those emotions that he has right now, that rage because of the death of his family, Sean Arc, and I'm sure Pakunoda and Uvo's deaths are now, everything is just boiling inside him. That's something that he's been just putting in the back, right? Just going through, like, it just how it goes. So I'm just really excited to see that development of his humanity and him realizing about finding himself again, finding this young Crollo that when he was younger in the backstory that we saw, and discover that, yeah man, you're important, the Ed is important, people, the other Phantom Troop members do care about you. You need to see that, bro. He doesn't realize how much they love him and they care about him. So he's so engrossed in this spider and this Phantom Troop stuff that, like, just loses that sense of identity, which, again, I could talk about his character for so long with his ability showing that, being a symbolism to that. But it was cool to see Hisoka. To me, it really reinforced how he's such a wild card in all of this. Most people are trying to be smart and careful about everything and follow the order, and Hisoka probably just does his own thing, right? But we don't know where his mind state really is. We know he still wants to have that fight, right? But he knows that he can't be like that as much anymore because of his loss. But it really feels like he's alone in this succession war. Everyone is with someone, right? The Mafia, they're together. The Phantom Troop, they're together. There's a lot of groups, right? The princes have their guards. Kurapika is with a lot of people. Everyone has help. And then you just have Hisoka, who is basically by himself. Or maybe so we think. We don't know who got him here. Morena or Prince, we don't know. But it's Hisoka. He's fighting by himself. He's alone in this whole succession war with all those groups. He alone is the sole fighter that fights by himself in all of this chaos. I really like how I really felt that with that chapter, with this reintroduction of him, how he's just alone in all of this. Sphinx and Phaeton, now with where we know that their hideout is between tier 2 and tier 3, with martial law, I think them getting to the hideout will actually take some time. So I don't think we'll see those two get to the hideout for quite a while, and I could see maybe something getting in the way before they get there. I don't know, maybe they'll cross Crollo, maybe they'll have to deal with something else in the meantime, so I'm not expecting them to find that this soon. Lastly, Boxen, I liked how it ended with the game, because she basically ended up being forced to kill to survive, right? She has to kill someone to gain this power to protect herself and her friends. Now she has an objective, right? To grow stronger and to maybe kill Morena, right? And it's really cool because one of the big concepts of this Succession War arc is killing to survive. The sole survivor, right? You have to kill all the other princes to be the sole survivor. You have to survive. And we know how dark this is. People are gonna die. There's gonna be a lot of chaos, people dying everywhere. So it's super cool where Borgsen never considered killing someone, and now she's being forced to kill to survive by Morena. So she's being thrown in the Succession's War's main concept. She's being thrown in the arc in a way, and I really like how that was done. Alright, I forgot to talk about this, but the last thing that I had in my notes is the theme of revenge. It's been pretty... We've seen it already, right, in the story of Hunter x Hunter, especially with Kurapika and Gon in Camarant arc. But we haven't had as many characters in it than this arc. As I said, Camarant arc had mostly Gon with his revenge. That was mostly the only one. And then you had York New, where obviously Kurapika was the big one, right, with his revenge against the Phantom Troop. And then you had Nobunaga as well, because of Uvo's death. He wanted revenge, right, against Kurapika. So there was a little bit of that cycle of revenge already in York New. But that's as far as we really went with those. In the other arcs there wasn't really as much revenge. I mean, you could say Gon with Hisoka at some point, but not really. So, you know, it's interesting that the one where there was maybe a little bit more focus on it, it was York New with Kurapika and the Phantom Troop, and now we're here, and I think we're going even deeper in this one in terms of the revenge. So the characters that have some sort of revenge story or plot to them. First one is Chrollo, obviously towards Hisoka. We've seen how much he wants to kill Hisoka, right? There's more to it, but it's a big part of it is revenge. And I guess in that you can throw the Phantom Troop itself. You know, some of the other members probably want revenge. Machi, for example, as well, right? They all want revenge against Hisoka, but Machi and Chrollo are the main ones. The other one is Morena, right? Morena, she wants revenge against the world itself, but especially Kakin. She wants to destroy it for what they've done to her and all that stuff, and not just maybe for her, but the other ones that suffered through this. And well, those characters that I just talked about are super important to the story. I think we can all see that. So the fact that one of their main thing is revenge, and then in this batch we had Enrig and Zakuro, right? That continues that cycle of revenge. Banal enough killing Lynch, and now them wanting revenge for Lynch against the Phantom Troop. So the revenge that the Phantom Troop wants against Hisoka brings other people wanting revenge onto them. When you look at that, is that the first time, right? No, there was Kurapika. They brought Kurapika with the revenge, so that continues here. It's interesting that again we have Chrollo under them as they talk about revenge. And then one that we did see earlier in the arc was Enzo. We've seen Enzo, he wanted revenge for Momose, and he did get it, right? This one is a little bit smaller, but so, you know, we have quite a few characters that want revenge, right? And a lot of them are super important to the story, and they're all kind of linked together. And I guess the one that I didn't talk about, Kurapika, in a way, I mean, he doesn't know that the Phantom Troop is here, but I'm sure if he hears about it, he's probably gonna want that revenge a little bit. And then you could say, you know, against Terry, I'm sure he's gonna want revenge against Terry, especially if he has Pyro's head and all that stuff. But just the eyes itself, you could say, you know, Kurapika is still on that revenge path. So a lot of characters that want revenge. It definitely feels like it's an important theme to this arc, so I'm very interested in where Togashi takes this. And to me, the revenge, the way Togashi approaches, he shows that revenge is not a good thing. It doesn't lead you to anything good, right? It never gives you satisfaction, so I'm interested if he goes that way, right? If he shows that message. So it's definitely a theme that we have to keep in mind as we go through this arc. So in all, to me, this volume really felt like a big setup batch of chapters. It really did. I think it felt like the calm before the storm in a way. Maybe the first storm. I don't know if this will be the palace invasion necessarily. I could see this being a big climax. Maybe Benjamin dies and then things calm down a little bit and then we build to the actual final climax. I could see something like this. There wasn't much action in this volume, as I said, a little bit with Alkenberg doing some action, shooting Basamelko, killing his body, and now infecting Benjamin with the TSK-17 and martial law being enacted because of that. Those were the really big moment of action in this all batch of chapters. Other than that, it was mainly set up, seeing where characters are at, what they're gonna do, their mindset. So I really enjoyed it in terms of setup. Togashi is one of the best at this in terms of putting some setup and then having a resolution feeling actually rewarding, right? Like it's gonna feel rewarding. Will we go back in time in the next batch, at the start of the next batch, you know, to see maybe the start of the new Nen class with Sarah L from Kamala joining, right, to curse Wobble? Or are we just gonna go back to maybe when martial law was enacted and seeing everyone's reaction and what they did, right? That would be pretty cool. Or are we just gonna continue to where we were at 40 minutes? That's the least likely. I think we'll go back in time. That is it, guys. Don't forget to subscribe because I do think we'll be back next year, early next year, you know, maybe mid next year, I don't know, but I think we'll be back with the next batch of 10 chapters. I will be here, we'll be doing the same thing. Thank you for being here for this batch of 10 chapters, for the new people that joined. It was really fun. I love the support from you guys. We had some great conversations. Hopefully it continues in the next batch. As I said, if you have any ideas or something you want me to cover or do videos about in the meantime. Let me know some ideas or suggestions. Like the video if you enjoyed this discussion, review. I had a lot of fun doing this. And as I said, subscribe, because obviously if we do come back in 6 months, if you don't subscribe, you might just never see me again. So we know how YouTube works. Alright, that's it. I'll see you guys on the boat in a few months, hopefully. See ya.